Thank you to Torras for sponsoring a portion of this video. So this probably is not going to surprise you. I upgrade my iPhones every year. Even though I know I shouldn't, I get sucked into the marketing, the hype. I tell myself I just want to test the new features and see if they're worthwhile. But without fail, every single year, it almost always never makes sense to upgrade from one generation to the next. And I'm coming from a 16 Pro Max that was pretty close to perfect for me. But this year, something feels like a little bit different. I wanted to compare these two phones, one that I spent 12 months with, one that I spent the past over a week with, because I think that this might be the year the iPhone 17 Pro actually makes sense if you got last year's phone. I've been using the iPhone 16 Pro Max for the past year. I didn't get it because it was exciting or groundbreaking. It kind of became a friend, a reliable, kind of like boring friend, but it worked flawlessly for me over the past 12 months. This was the first like modern iPhone since like the iPhone 10 that still sits at 100% battery health after an insane amount of wireless charging, live streaming a game changer in like 85-degree weather, my kids' baseball games. I feel like a weird connection to this phone. It was dependable. But new iPhones came out. I went and bought this cosmic orange iPhone 17 Pro Max, and I think it had some really big shoes to fill. Because I think if I didn't like do this for a living and film stuff, I'd probably still be holding on to the 16 Pro Max for at least another year. But after a little over a week of testing both side by side, I've come to the conclusion that I didn't think that I would say about a year-over-year iPhone. I think the 17 Pro Max is worth it. And here's why. So the first thing that you notice when you pick it up is the design. Apple's choices this year, I think on paper, if you look at the Apple website, I think they sound a little bit questionable, right? Titanium, after years of telling us titanium is the future, is gone. Went back to aluminum. The phone is thicker and heavier. It's got that massive like a camera plateau that dominates the back. But in the hand, I think it all works. There's a weight jump, 233 grams to I think 227. It doesn't sound dramatic, but you do feel it when you're holding it. And those slightly like rounded edges, I think they fixed one of my biggest gripes with the 16 Pro Max. The sharp rails tend to dig into my palm after holding it for a long time for shoots. There's the plateau, which I think is the most ridiculous marketing name Apple's ever done. It's huge, spanning the width of the phone. I think it kind of looks like a stovetop. But here's the thing about this design, at least I think that really surprised me. It looks way better in person than videos or photos. So there's a two-tone thing happening with the aluminum top section and the glass bottom that translates horribly, I think, to camera, to Apple's website. You gotta see it in person, I think, to appreciate how cohesive it looks. And the cosmic orange color, I'm not a bright orange guy, but I love this one. Like way more than I thought I would. I am apparently alone in this. I'm looking at 4 people here in the studio and everybody gives me side eye. I like it, and I like probably because I feel like Apple finally gave us color choices instead of like the bland palette we've had for years. But the design, it's obviously more about looks, right? It affects performance too, and that leads directly to the 17 Pro and obviously Pro Max's biggest advantages, and that's thermals.
I got that fire. I got that heat.
I never once ever thought about thermal management on a phone, so I started pushing these phones really hard. And when you're shooting video, like I said, for 2 straight hours at a baseball game at noon, heat, you start to become very, very aware of it, and it quickly becomes the enemy. The 16 Pro Max would get very warm during extended use. Not uncomfortably hot, but warm enough that you would absolutely notice and worry if you were kind of damaging the phone. More importantly, it did start to throttle performance to protect itself. So here's where Apple's decision to go backwards to aluminum, I think, actually makes sense. Aluminum conducts heat better than titanium. When they were designing this new vapor chamber cooling system, they needed a material that could actually pull heat away from that A19 Pro chip and kind of spread it across the whole chassis. Titanium, for all of its premium appeal, is actually surprisingly terrible at moving heat around. And I tested this really extensively. And again, it was always bet for me at a baseball game in the heat. The 17 Pro Max stayed cool the entire time. Not just like cooler, but like actually cool to the touch. This is probably more stress testing than most people do, but that vapor chamber combined with the aluminum construction creates this, it's a thermal management system that really works. It was not like a gimmick for anyone who pushes their phone hard. Whatever version of that is for you, whether you're a content creator, play a ton of mobile games, people work with their phones, the thermal management thing is really real and a tangible benefit that improves daily use. And I know this can sound ridiculous to some people. I get anxious my phone drops below 40%. My wife is the opposite. Her phone will just turn off and she's like, oh, battery's dead. When I see the battery percentage start creeping into the 30s, I immediately start thinking about where I can charge, whether I need to switch to low power mode, I need to bring a battery pack. My 16 Pro Max, even after 100% battery health, would end the day for me at around 30 to 35% remaining. The iPhone 17 Pro Max has eliminated that anxiety completely. My exact same usage, exact same third-party apps, I'm ending the day at around 40 to 45%, so about 10% better. That improvement, again, is big, and it does come in like several factors. It's obviously a bigger battery, so that matters. It's just under 5,100 milliamp hours versus 4676 in the 16 Pro Max. I am seeing 7.5 to maybe 9 hours of screen on time on really heavy usage days, compared to maybe 7 hours on the 16 Pro Max. And like, I get that this is like the least sexy thing to talk about, right? Thermals and battery. You want to talk about the new iPhone 17. It's the color, it's the cameras, it's 48 megapixels, it's all of those things. But what matters, I think, is how long you can use your phone without thinking about the battery. And this is a really significant quality of life improvement here. Another area that you'll notice a thermal difference in is when you're charging your phone. Eventually, you're gonna have to do it no matter how good battery life is. And you'd think that Apple would put a charger in the box that optimizes that even more, but they didn't in their infinite wisdom. That's why this video's sponsor, Torras, has you covered plus 30 extra surprises. This is the Flexline 67 watt, and honestly, it's probably one of the best designed chargers that I have tried in a very long time. So, big one, it's a retractable cable that pulls out a full meter. Like, it is huge, and then it'll snap back clean. It's also fully recessed. It's never gonna tangle. Torras tested it for over 10,000 pulls, so it's designed to last years. On top of that, the C head is magnetic, so it's gonna snap right into place and be recessed. So it's there when you need it every single time. Power-wise, it's no joke either. 67 watts, and you can fast charge 2 devices at once. So you can obviously plug it in. It's got 2 prongs built in. It's got a USB Type-C port, so charge your phone and laptop, phone and earbuds. And it can charge an iPhone to 65% in about 30 minutes. If you need to buy a charger, this covers all your bases. You don't need a charger and a cable. This just takes care of it all for you. But sometimes you want to charge while you're on the go. So look at this little guy. It is the Torras Minimag power bank. And in something that thin, how many milliamp hours do you say is in there? 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 max? It's got 5,000 milliamp hours in a tiny little package. It's aluminum, as now Apple's telling us again, is clearly better for thermal, so it's not gonna get too hot. It does a really awesome job. It's a perfect accessory for you're gonna be gone for a long day, maybe overnight, and you wanna keep your phone juiced up. It works absolutely perfectly. If you wanna check out either of these options from Torras or any of the other awesome stuff they have, I think you should. All the links that you need will be down below. While the thermals and battery is not sexy, I think what is the sexy feature is the cameras. And if you look at 2 photos side by side from the 16 Pro Max and 17 Pro Max, I'm assuming most people won't notice a huge difference. Both photos still look like iPhone photos. They're sharp, they're bright, they're punchy. You can see sort of slightly better highlight detail and shadow information on the 17 Pro Max. But when you start zooming into images and actually using the camera system, I think the improvements become hugely obvious. So the iPhone 17 Pro Max finally fixes the consistency problem that's been an issue with iPhones for a while. All 3 rear cameras, so your main, your ultra wide, and your telephoto, are now 48 megapixel sensors. The 0.5x ultra wide got a huge upgrade. The 48 megapixel sensor has dramatically reduced noise, especially in less than ideal lighting. The 2x zoom, which is essentially a crop of the main sensor, is probably the least inspiring upgrade this year. It's fine, but the absolute star of the show, the 4x telephoto. Apple's decision to go from a 5x to a 4x does seem like a downgrade on paper, but in practice, chef's kiss brilliant. Look at these flower shots. The 16 Pro Max 5X capture versus the iPhone 17 Pro Max 4X. So despite being 1x less zoomed in, you are getting way more detail, a noticeably brighter highlights, and way better shadow detail. The 56% larger sensor with 48 megapixels makes all the difference. The old 5X was often too tight for what I actually wanted to capture. The new 4X hits that classic 100mm portrait length with professional photographers absolutely love. And because of that higher resolution sensor, Apple can crop cleanly to 8X, which is surprisingly clean and noise-free, even in like really challenging lighting. Signs in the distance are more legible. Details stay sharp, and the results are like genuinely usable with the 16 Pro Max. You are not guaranteed to get a clean, crisp shot at every focal length. Every picture it looked good, but it wasn't as good as it could be. On the 17 Pro and Pro Max, I think you can feel confident that you can get a clean shot at any focal length in any reasonable lighting condition. The camera experience just feels more fluid thanks to the extra detail and the light these larger sensors can capture. Front-facing camera tells the exact same story. So instead of you guys looking at my face for a while, once you look at the very handsome JD Prevost, you might recognize him. He's the host of The Viewing Angle. Both look good. The 17 Pro is capturing more light. Skin tones look brighter. You can immediately see more detail in the beard and background. And there's just better sort of shadow detail, so blacks aren't as crunchy. The selfie camera went from super usable on the 16 Pro and Pro Max to actually really good on the 17 Pro series. That new 18 megapixel sensor also enables horizontal selfies while holding the phone vertically, which does sound gimmicky. So you're trying to fit sort of a group in a frame with my arm's not that long. I can't get that many people in it. Really cool feature, works exactly as advertised. And for video, the same improvements carry over. On the 16 Pro, video quality was awesome on the main lens. Took a noticeable hit on the ultra wide and telephoto. And really that was evident, especially in low light. But now with the new 48 megapixel sensors across the board, video just looks cleaner and more consistent no matter what lens you are using. Again, the new 4x telephoto is the star, produces far less noise than the old 5X. Apple also made the 8X video. This was a surprise. It's actually usable, something that would have been a noisy mess before. There's also the new dual capture mode. It records selfie and then what you're recording. It's nice that Apple, I think, added this sort of built into their own hardware instead of using sort of third-party stuff to make it work. One thing to bear in mind though, it is going to burn in that selfie image into the actual video file, so you can't sort of take it out after the fact. But awesome for content creators just want to capture a reaction to something. When it comes to video, the 17 Pro takes a bigger step forward than the 16 Pro did. Both already handle ProRes and Apple Log beautifully well. The 17 Pro, I think, levels up with ProRes RAW, Apple Log 2, and then OpenGate recording and even Genlock support. That might mean nothing to you, but OpenGate is a huge sleeper feature, and Apple barely mentioned it. But by capturing the full sensor, you get way more room for cropping, reframing, or creating content in multiple aspect ratios from a single shot. If you're immediately opening up your camera app looking for it, weirdly it's not going to be there. You got to use the Final Cut camera app or the Blackmagic camera app to get support for it. 17 Pro feels like the first iPhone that's generally crossing into pro cinema-ish territory. And again, the 16 Pro camera system was really good, but the fact that the 17 Pro is so much better was really surprising. What's less surprising and more similar are the displays. The specs are mostly the same, especially on paper. 6.9 inches, especially on the Pro Max, 120 hertz, ProMotion, OLED technology, excellent color accuracy. But there is one improvement on the 17 Pro Max that I did not expect to care about to actually experience it in the real world. The 17 Pro and Pro Max can hit 3,000 nits of brightness compared to 2,000 nits on the 16 Pro Max. That 50% increase sounds like a typical just spec sheet improvement a year over year. Obviously more is better, right? And maybe you've been there some other scenario outside where you're trying to check a score, send a text, review photos you just took, and the sun is directly over your head. The 16 Pro Max would become very hard to use. I had to kind of cut my hand sometimes around the screen, find shade, or crank the brightness up to maximum if it wasn't already there. The 17 Pro, it cuts through that glare in a way that was genuinely surprising. Both phones, when it comes to power, are ridiculously overdone. The A19 Pro chip in the 17 Pro series of phones is faster, obviously, than the A18 Pro in the 16 Pro series. But unless you're doing crazy heavy gaming, video editing, or running demanding apps, I don't think anybody's gonna notice a difference at all in day-to-day use. There's also extra RAM here, 12 gigs versus 8. It's probably more about future-proofing than current performance, I'm assuming. For Apple Intelligence features that are still rolling out, I'm gonna assume that the extra RAM and processing power should provide better performance for kind of on-device AI stuff. But like right now, in late 2025, most of these features are still being phased in gradually, so not a huge deal. But one issue that my 16 Pro Max never had was any sort of Wi-Fi dropping issues. I had when I set this phone up, my Wi-Fi was dropping every 30 to 45 seconds. I could look at it and it would drop out and then it would come back. I thought it was just me. I put this post up on X. Then I saw this article on Mac Rumors. It does appear to be a little bit more widespread. I just swapped the phone completely. I'd only had it for a day at that time, so I was able to get a new phone. No issues at all with the new phone, but something to at least be mindful of. Also be mindful of scratching. I haven't seen any scratching on mine, but there's a lot of stories going around. If you look at the phones in the Apple stores, they are scratched to hell. Okay. But at least be aware of scratching, especially on the aluminum. But this is where things get more complicated from a value perspective. The 17 Pro Max is expensive. Starts at just about $1,200 for 256 gigs of storage, which is the same price as the 16 Pro Max launched for. So should you upgrade? For most people, if you're on a 16 Pro Max, probably not. But if you're on anything older, if you're on a 15, 14, anything before then, I would run to the Apple store. I would get the store app on your phone. I would buy a 17 Pro or Pro Max as fast as possible because you were getting an absolutely incredible phone. But if you have a 16 Pro or Pro Max and you are a heavy user, you're someone that's documenting everything, you're a content creator, a mobile gamer, someone who just hates battery anxiety, 17 Pro Max is one of those really rare year-over-year upgrades that genuinely feels justified. For me, it came down to three things: the color, which I love, extra battery, and that 8x zoom capability. Those three improvements were more than enough for me to make the upgrade and have no regrets about it at all. And I feel bad saying this because I feel like my 16 Pro Max was like a friend. It was there for me at important moments over the past year. Birthdays, baseball games, even funerals. It worked for me all the time and it never let me down. It maintained 100% battery health, which was surprising, and it lasted when I needed it. And that is a high bar to clear. But this cosmic orange iPhone 17 Pro Max isn't just meeting that bar. It's raising it. The improvements are tangible. They're meaningful. For the first time in years, a year-over-year iPhone upgrade feels like an upgrade rather than just a refresh. So when I trade this guy in, when Apple sends me the box and I pack it up, I think I'm gonna feel like bad about it. Like I was like abandoning an old friend that had been there with me through so much. But for me, the color, the extra battery life, that sweet 8x zoom were more than enough to make the upgrade, and I have very few regrets about it. And that's why I think this year is different. Like 99 times out of 100, upgrading your phone after 1 year is a big mistake. But this is the one time that Apple broke the rule and made a phone that's actually worth it.